There's no such thing as your best foot forward. It's just the first foot forward is the best foot.
Because when you're not moving and you're not doing anything, you're not getting anywhere. If you have to, let's say you have to drive an hour, the distance ain't getting any shorter.
Yeah.
Until you're moving, right? The same thing is like you need to get to one place to another. Whether you're walking or running, that's way better than if you're just standing still, because you're never going to get to where you have to be if you're just standing still.
In our brains, the hardest part is the first step, the first initial movement. It's really easy, like we were saying a minute ago before we started recording, it's really easy to analyze and theorize and think, oh, what this could be, what could I do? The difference between thinking about things and actually taking action is huge. Even though it's not too much of a difference, but up here it is. It's hard to get started sometimes. And that's why we say there's no such thing as your best foot forward. It's just your first foot.
A good plan tomorrow is better than a perfect plan today, because the chance that you're going to actually think of the perfect plan.
Or vice versa.
Right. Because most people just sit around and wait, and they're trying to come up with the best plan, or maybe the quickest way to get from point A to point B. But that could take them months when they could have already been there if they had just started.
Yeah.
Right? Some people just dwell and think of like paralysis of the analysis, where they'll sit in one position for so long that if they just walked and took their time and went real slow and just messed up, they would have been to where they wanted to be in half the time, because they took so long to find a perfect plan, which is never going to come to begin with, because there is none.
There's no perfect plan. The people that succeeded, and the big dogs and the monumentally successful people, they didn't have a perfect plan. They just had a plan and got started, and they kept moving and had momentum. The snowball effect of gravity takes effect, and things start to pile on top of each other and things get good. But there's never a perfect plan. Mel Robbins talks about it, and I like this as well, is you want to narrow down your timelines. If you have like maybe a 6-month goal, if you really think about it, there's no reason why you couldn't get that 6-month goal down to 60 days, 2 months. I like that a lot. You can narrow down your time lengths.
What's the thing that Tony Robbins says most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year?
Yep.
Or 1 month? Or underestimate what they can do in 5 years? Yeah. Which one is it? Month or year?
I think it's year versus 10 years.
Okay.
To 5 years.
And that's true, because most people think that they can get so much done. They try to find the perfect plan of how to get this done, then they do nothing. But if you just started and you slowly, gradually increased, maybe you got better by 1% every day. Instead of trying to be like at 100%, if you just do it 1% at a time, and every day you're 1% better, over the course of 10 years, you make way more progress than you would have made if you just spent 5 of those years trying to come up with the perfect plan.
And there's no denying that, and you guys know that. If you were to get started when you like originally said you wanted to get started, you would be farther now than if you were still trying to write the blueprints and make everything orderly and as fashioned and as good as possible. Paralysis of the analysis. Don't get too wound up in the idea. It's easy to read books and watch movies and watch things, but the difference between actually taking action, that's night and day. You'll never get to where you want to go if you're just thinking about it, analyzing stuff. I promise you will get nowhere. It's good to think about what you're doing before you do it. Make sure you always think about your actions before you actually take them, but don't overanalyze.
Yeah, the saying is, it's not don't have a plan, it's a good plan is better than a perfect plan tomorrow.
Yep.
Because you won't think of the perfect plan. But remember, the beginning says a good plan. So you still have to have a good plan. You can't walk into things blindly. But when you do take that first step, like we said, you have to take the best step that you can. Right? Just because maybe you don't fully believe in the plan because it's not the perfect plan, you still have to act as if you're following the perfect plan. Because you never know where if you put in 100% into something, versus if you only put in 20%, how big of a difference that made. Whether you're excited for it or not, that additional effort that you put in can have worlds of different change, right? Like a business, right? Like your business, you could have easily put 50% in, and maybe it's hard to put 100% in, but you could have tried way less because you were unsure if it was going to work.
Yeah.
And you'd be way farther back. Even if you don't believe in the business 100%, or even if you don't think that this is the smartest thing you could do, it's better to go into it acting as if it is the best thing you could do.
I like that, because a lot of times you don't even know what you don't know. When you start a business, you start a firm, you start whatever, you start you don't even know what you don't know. And in order to learn what you need to learn, you have to just start. You're not going to know what you don't know before you start. And that's why when you start, you encounter new problems, new scenarios, better ways to solve things. And the only way you would have got to that point is once you start. Because if you're just thinking about it and analyzing it, you're making no progress. Like you said, before you start your destination, an hour-long trip, it's not going to get any shorter before you start, whether you think, what's the best way I can take? Maybe you cut it down by 5%, like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But you're not going to make it significantly enough to where no matter what, the dude that started right now is going to beat the guy that's over-analyzing stuff and trying to figure out the best plan. There's no best plan.
Another thing is, if you start now, you can still search for a better plan.
Yeah.
People get so stuck in one spot that they don't do anything, but you could easily, like when you start your business, the whole time while you're doing it, you can then try to find a better plan. And it also gives you more insight of what you could be doing, because before you even get into it, how are you going to find the perfect plan if you don't even know what you're doing yet? You have to at least somewhat get into this path to be able to figure out what you're doing wrong, right? Like with your business, if you messed up somewhere, a lot of times you wouldn't even know that you would have messed up unless you messed up there.
Unless you did it.
And the people that try to find the perfect plan, they won't even know. And if they do come up with this perfect plan that they believe is the perfect plan, they're going to run into road bumps that they didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
But the person that started already ran into them. They already ran into something malfunctioning. They already ran into their truck breaking down. They already ran into this or that not working, that no matter what, right? He owns a pressure washing company. Pumps are going to fail, right? Engines are going to fail. No matter if you come up with the perfect plan, you're not creating the perfect engine. You're not rebuilding you're not making your own engine.
Yeah.
So it's going to fail. And the person who gets started has to conquer those setbacks.
The one who takes initiative first will always win. That's why maybe you guys know my thoughts on college and school and stuff. You can check out the video right here, exposing colleges. But that being said, your grades in school really does not have any effect on the real world. You could have been daydreaming all throughout high school and barely passed, like me, because I'm thinking about once I'm done, what the hell am I gonna do?
Yeah.
And the guy that was getting A pluses, maybe he's, working at a desk job, nothing against that, much respect, but the guy that was overachieving in school, that doesn't have anything to do with the real world, because the real world comes down to who's going to take initiative first and who's going to work the hardest. It's as simple as that, no matter what the hell it is. Sports, academics, business, bodybuilding, no matter what it is, the dude that gets started first and works the hardest is going to win. 100%.
So get started.